You know, in our own spiritual unfoldment, we have no idea what a healing is until we have that experience that shakes our foundations. When we have the experience of truly meaning that thy will be done, not my will but thine. Normally, we say that and we don't really mean it. Until we find ourselves in an experience where perhaps for the first time in eons of time, we really lay down our guard and say, Father, go ahead. When neither life nor death mean anything unless it is the will of God. Many spiritual teachers have said that one of the last obstacles in our spiritual life is that to overcome is the fear of death. And we really don't know what it is until we are with it, with the appearance of death, and finally you lay down your guard and you're willing to go on with it, to jump in gladly into that experience. It is then when you experience the healing, which does not mean you are going to stay in this body necessarily. The experience might mean that you are going to jump in, but the release of allowing yourself at last to be who you are, whether on this body or the appearance of this body or on the other side, as most people call it. Oftentimes, we think we can go through many experiences without the help of others. And in the spiritual path, many, many times we are going to need a treatment from our fellow travelers. And don't hesitate to ask. However, whenever we ask for a treatment, we have something in mind. And that way we are ensuring nothing is going to happen. The true treatment is not my will, but thine be done in me, through me, and as me. Not to ask God or your practitioner or teacher to heal your lump in your breast or your cancer or whatever. Rather, to ask the Father that His will or its will be done in you. It's better to not even tell the practitioner what you have. Just ask for a treatment. Be with me in this experience and go on with it. Because to God, which is the self of you, He doesn't care, or it doesn't care, whether you have a cancer or a cold. Rather, it is the inner mystical experience of I and the Father are one. What is it that I must do to glorify God? Within the last few months, anytime I go into meditation, and even when I'm not in meditation, I'm just walking on the streets, all I hear within me is glorify thou me. What does that mean? Grace expressed is the glory of God. How do we glorify God? How do we bring this experience into fulfillment in our lives? By laying down our guard, by allowing ourselves to be filled with the Spirit of God, which is already within us. We don't have to wait for anything except allow it to come forth. However, I know it's a lot easier said than done. I mean, we've been saying it for thousands of years. And it does not really happen until we have the experience. But we must try and try and try until it clicks. And sometimes the clicking is an experience that not only shakes our foundations, it leaves us hanging on the air with no foundations whatsoever. And that there is the transformation is right there. Is our own inner transformation. The title of this class is Exploring Healing. Well, healing cannot be explored. All we can explore are concepts of healing, and they are all wrong. Because the experience of healing, which is a transformation of consciousness, any healing is a transformation of consciousness, cannot be explained with the mind. We are, as I was saying at the meditation a while ago, we already have entered the age where this spirit is going to be manifested on earth bluntly at all levels of consciousness. Recently I came aware of these new books on dying, where scientists explore the fact that a lot of people who have been dead, medically dead, had these experiences of the other side, of the light, of watching their bodies down there, all kinds of experiences, which for the first time science is beginning to face and to study. Also, on the other hand, in 1975, a very important book in the history of science was published. It's called The Mystery of the Mind by Wilder Penfield. Wilder Penfield was a neurosurgeon who is the father of the electrical stimulation of the brain. He was one of the first, or probably the first, who began stimulating the brain electrically and discovering the different areas of the brain. He went into his research to find out that the mind was in the brain. In this book, he has come to the conclusion that the mind is not in the brain, it's outside. Something which we already know. But for the rest of mankind is a very important step. To know that there are some scientists who have realized that yes, the brain is a very excellent computer, but the mind is the one that manipulates it at certain levels of consciousness. At the mystical level of consciousness, the mind is an avenue of awareness because the soul is the one that takes care of the mind and the body. But for our age, this is a very, very important step because it carries with it a transformation. With it, we are also experiencing changes in the infinite way. The infinite way has become, the mystical expression of the infinite way has become more open. With it, there are several dangers. One, that we may become, or some people might make it an absolute teaching. And by making it an absolute teaching, it will become paralyzed. The key to the mystical life is the middle path. Yes, we know the absolute, and we might even experience it. But you cannot say that God is all in all and stay there. Yes, God is all in all, but there are people out there who have not realized it, and who need food, who need care, who need all the cares of the human life, what being good, in quotes, is to the human world. And we have to supply it at that level, even though we know that I and the Father are one, and I am that one. We have to learn to supply to each level of consciousness according to their need, without making a fuss about our mysticism or about our spiritual life. Our spiritual life is sacred and is secret. And then you act like everybody else. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous to run around, come here to teach a class and feel yourself on cloud 9 when there is no cloud 9. for a minute. Close your eyes and see if your mind can encompass this planet, the Earth. If we can do that, which is a product of evolution, remember, when we came to the Americas in 1492, only 2 or 3 people had an idea that the world could fit in their minds. Eventually, we began to grow and grow and grow in consciousness. First, we had the printing presses, and then we had radio, then we had television, and we know everything that happens in the world within a few hours and sometimes within a few minutes. We know today that all races on the biological plane are adaptations to the environment. We only have the human race on this planet. Since we can encompass the world in our minds, we have become aware that the Earth is a very tiny spaceship with which we travel the universe. Now, let's think for a minute. And this I cannot prove scientifically. That before time and space were, we were. I am. And we decided to bring into expression time and space in order to experience this dimension. We know we live in a world of not 3 dimensions, but 4 dimensions. Because time is a dimension. And we know today that time can be stretched, expanded, or contracted. The same thing with the space. The space can be expanded, can be contracted, etc. We decided to come into expression on this plane. In order to come into expression on this plane, we had to make rules, laws. And so we have laws of gravity, so the law of relativity nowadays, the law of gravitational forces covered by Newton, etc. So we have all these laws. We had our emotions, we had the psychological laws, and we jumped or came into expression on this plane to experience it. There is a rule. In order to get out of it, you have the key to it, which is right identification. You come in, you experienced, and then you phase yourself out of it through right identification, through the loss of fears that we acquired as we experience this plane. We begin to lose our fears, we'll become aware of who we are, and then we are out. But you see, the experience gave us something very important, which we begin to discover on our way out, which is service. Love is expressed through service. And service has many dimensions. We only know 2 or 3. One of the passages of the Bible that always puzzled me was that the first will be last and the last will be first. I remember being 10, 12 years old when I read that passage for the first time, and I said to myself, this doesn't make sense. What is this? And after years and years of work, meditation, one day it clicked. Oh, if you attain, once you leave the plane, you'll come back. Why? Because no revelation is given to you for yourself. Any revelation we have is to be given to those who are ready for it. That means not to force anybody with our revelation. Those who are ready for it, who come to you, then you share it with them. At whatever level of consciousness they happen to be in. You see, today with the so-called AIDS epidemic, there are nuns and there are lay workers and there are all kinds of people who are doing voluntary service with these people. At that level, they are the Christ totally and absolutely expressed. Teaching, working with people, all kinds of expression of service in the human level is an expression of the Christ, which is also service. Then you have other levels which are neither higher nor lower, which is mystical, spiritual teaching, healing work, you may name it. And that's also an expression of it. But normally in the spiritual life, or some of us who are on the spiritual life, tend to think that government is not spiritual, engineering is not spiritual, all kinds of work, including factory workers, including maids. And that is also spiritual work. A person spiritually minded in government can do tremendous good for mankind. Also, a group of people like us, spiritually minded, doing world work, can change a war into peace. In many ways, it's up to us. We don't think that ecology is spiritual. And by the way, when this glass decomposes, it destroys the ozone layer that protects the expression of human and animal and vegetable life on this earth. The wisdom of learning to live with nature is a very spiritual attainment. The myth that we reject the things of the earth for spiritual things must be done away with once and for all. The earth is absolutely spiritual at this level of expression. We just have to learn its laws. There is the law of cooperation, which we eventually learn and demonstrate. there is the law of what is called in the scientific field the homeostasis, which is the balance of the body to maintain certain temperature, certain equilibrium, or the balance of nature to maintain itself. We can make it or break it. The knowledge, the awareness of this brings about the spiritual awareness of these laws. These are laws which are spiritually motivated. We can't reject the world for the spirit because there is no such thing. The world is spiritual, or as Joel beautifully put it, the world looked at three-dimensionally is earth, looked at fourth-dimensionally is heaven. We are in it. This is our home. Because our home is our consciousness, and our consciousness has expressed this world into being. We must learn to live in it. The key to overcome the world is non-attachment. You live it, enjoy it, and not be attached to it. Now, one of the important things of non-attachment is when we discover that we are incorporeal. When we discover that the source of everything is incorporeal, including ourselves. We are not in this body is in us. We are expressing it, we have it like we have a car. You use it, you manifest in it, but it's not all of you. We have been trained to identify ourselves with the body. And this belief is so entrenched in us that we cannot, it is extremely difficult to separate ourselves from the body. This is why this experience of the dying, or the people who have been clinically dead, who have experienced being outside of their body and looking down or going through walls or trying to talk to people and all of a sudden realize that they were spirits. The sense of body, that they have a sense of body, some of them, not all of them, but some of them have a sense of body, some of them have a sense of consciousness, is extremely an important lesson for us to realize our incorporeality. You see, this is breaking through in consciousness that no longer needs for people to spend years of meditation to become aware of it, but through a near-death experience or the sense of near-death, they come back with that experience. That is very important. Not only because it corroborates what we have been doing, or what Joel have been doing, what all the mystics have been doing, but it's given the rest of mankind a glimpse of the new age. You and I know that matter, as we used to think, doesn't exist. You know that matter is energy. Today, you have many scientists that have become aware that chaos, the center of chaos, what lies behind chaos, is a geometric structure. That means order lies behind it. Therefore, chaos is another form of order. You see, we are beginning to discover how what we used to call the spirit and what we used to call matter meet. And there is no demarcation. Matter looked at fourth dimensionally is spirit. Healing looked at fourth dimensionally is harmony. Sickness, disease looked at fourth dimensionally is nothing. You see, it's the concepts. Now, when we begin to look at all these concepts that we've been trying for a long time to get rid of, when we look at them for what they are lessons. We will never go through an experience, no matter how hard it is, that is not a lesson of this plane for us to learn our true identity. Those are the birth pangs of the way back to our right identity. Every once in a while, try to look back at your horrible experiences, all the harsh times we've had, all the so-called illnesses, all the horrible relationships we've been into. Look at them. And when you look at them straight in their face, you become aware those were the stepping stones for your own spiritual awareness. And then you don't regret them anymore. There's nothing to regret. Thank God for them. However, when we're going through it, we hate every minute of it. But guess we personalize the whole thing. And since what we are learning is impersonalization, and we are personalizing, we have a friction. And where do we end up? Well, sometimes we end up eating husk with the swine. And that's what we need at that moment. I have a very good friend who thinks that the infinite way is too cold and too intellectual. And this person says that it should be warm or more emotional. And I keep telling this person that the infinite way is very warm, but it's warm at a different dimension, or in a different form. And it just occurred to me today that what I should do is to give her a heating pad next time. You see, it isn't cold in the way we think of coldness. However, it isn't warm in the superficial emotional way. The infinite way is very warm at a very deep emotion. But it is an emotion that is not superficial or, oh, what would be the word? The emotions we wanted to have when we were kids, of being cuddled and taken care of, and have this consideration. Normally we think of consideration and we ask people to be considerate with us out of our concept of being considered, not in the way the other person sees consideration. We normally expect things our way and not the way the other person sees it. And there are some people who have not learned to be considered in a regular way our society sees it. They see it in other cultures, they do it differently. But we still insist you have to be considered my way. We don't make the effort to see how the other person is considered. And when we open ourselves to see the other person considers us, then this person is ready to consider us our way too, because we meet midway. But normally we tend to see the world our way, which is the way we were taught. Everything is always our way. As we learn about other cultures, other peoples, we become aware that consideration is a very relative term. This is why in the mystical life it is neither right nor left spirituality. Neither male nor female, but spiritual. We have to learn to see ourselves that way. To see people as persons, as spiritual beings, rather than male or female. Because you're a woman, I'm going to treat you that way. Because I'm a man, you have to treat me this way. Why don't we treat each other spiritually? And then we treat each other equally. And there is no that expectation of being different or being treated in a certain way. Recently, I was talking to my class, and I told them that to the men, what would they do if the girl came to them and give them a bouquet of flowers and invited them to have dinner tonight, and then they would take them to the movies? It would shake their foundations. Why? Because we have been taught to believe that we are not supposed to receive flowers, we are not supposed to be treated in a certain way, and all of a sudden we have a tremendous problem. And with the changes today because of feminism, many women are beginning to do exactly that. And there are men who are absolutely terrified. And what is happening is shaking the complete foundations of what is to be a male and what is to be a female. We are beginning to treat each other as persons. And the next step is to begin to treat each other as spiritual beings. You see, all the foundations in this new age are beginning, the foundations of the old age are beginning to collapse. All the way the governments function are collapsing. In every way. We think sometimes of liberation theology as being too revolutionary. I was in Spain this January, and I was talking to a sociologist about, in a way he could understand it because he was not mystically or spiritually minded the way we are. and I was telling him about the conscious union with God. And and then after I talked to him for a while, he said, "Oh, but that's what we've been doing in Chile all along in liberation theology. That's not foreign to us." You see, if we dare to think what's going on in many countries in the third world, we begin to see this spiritual uprising, this absolute need, and they are not asking for it anymore, they are demanding it, that their right identity be recognized. And it's breaking in all the foundations of the society, the old foundations of society, the old foundations of the so-called developed world. Because are we so developed? Are we really so developed materially? Can we really be developed if we think that the 3 or 4 scientific principles we have discovered, we think they are ours and we are not willing to share it with mankind? We are really developed when we know that everything that came through us, every unfoldment, be it medical, scientific, or otherwise, is the birthright of all mankind. We can't say that these 3 or 4 scientific principles that we have unfolded here are ours. It's impossible. As long as we think that we are not developed. That is the sign of its opposite, underdevelopment. We are fully developed when what we have is everyone's. Just as any true mystic on this planet has given everything they've got to mankind or to those who are ready for it. Or for instance, Jonas Salk, the one who discovered the polio vaccine. How much did he charge mankind for it? $6. What cost him to develop it? It's everyone's. We just happen to be the vessel through which it came. And that's, in a sense, our gift. But a gift is not given for you, it's given for all. Just the same as your own spiritual unfoldment will never be yours until you give it. If you don't give it, you won't have it. You must share it doing work. You must share it with those who come and ask you for it. You must share it silently and secretly. It's interesting to look at the news today and these days and see how a lot of these wars that we are experiencing today sort of they're falling apart. All the dealings, the secret dealings are being uncovered, and everything is collapsing. What is it that is collapsing? And why is it collapsing? Don't you think it is collapsing because some people, a few people who are doing world work, who are not saying, "Oh God, make this thing collapse," they're just saying that the kingdom of God be realized on earth. It's what opens these things, these secret things. Anything that is done in secret is shouted openly. And that works at any level. At any level of consciousness that happens, it is demonstrated. If we do it in our relationship to God, eventually we become aware that everybody knows it. They see it. Those who are ready for it see it. If we do it in secret dealings, eventually the whole can of worms opened up. The new age is already upon us. We are not at the threshold of it, we are well into it. All we are beginning to do is to become aware of the things as we begin to see, to experience these near-death experiences, or these people have been dead, to be able to see themselves, or Wilder Penfield, who published the book in 1975. It was quite a 10, 11 years, 12 years ago. It's very important to become aware of this because the changes are getting greater and greater and are coming upon us. And we must be ready to interpret them spiritually. Because this is our own spiritual unfoldment. This is why we choose to manifest on earth at this time. We did not come here because anybody on the other side pushed us in. We came because we choose to do it. We were ready to awaken and manifest it right now. And in the degree of our awareness of it is in the degree that we make it, we demonstrate it on this plane. It's not only us. We happen to be the few remnant who's here in the United States. By the year 2000, 83% of the population in the third world is going to be under 25 years of age. Why is that? Is that happening just out of chance? Or is it happening because these are the people who are coming to enjoy, to bring about the new age that's right upon us? Most of the quote-unquote developed world, they have very few young people because they have less children than the others. The so-called underdeveloped world is exploding, and the ideas that are exploding there is called liberation theology. Liberation of what? What are they being liberated from? They are not being liberated of anything. All they are demanding is right identity. And they are pushing down all frameworks that were ruling our lands up to the 19th century. All of a sudden, there's this tremendous breakthrough. In many religions, women are becoming priests. In many, women are demanding to be treated equally. Men are being liberated from their being oppressors, because women cannot be liberated unless men are liberated. We have to liberate ourselves from our mental schemes, our conditioning. How is this liberation happening? Through the spiritual awareness of those who are working secretly and sacredly, who have been working for generations upon generations. It happens that today there are more people on earth doing work than we've ever had it before. So that dissolves, it's sort of collapsing everything. And you find out that people are demanding that they be respected in the right identity. That's our work. We must keep on it. Now, it is true that no matter how much we decide to be one with God, unless God chooses us, we'll never demonstrate it. But the fact that we are desiring it is because God has already chosen us. You see? And don't think of being chosen as something that they choose you out of a list. We use those words as metaphors. Evolution, spirituality is a process of evolution. We evolved from materiality into spirituality. But we did not discover or discarded materiality. We found out that materiality was spirituality. That matter is not foreign to spirit. Matter is spirit. What changes is our attitude. When we look at a dollar bill, we don't think it's supply. We know that supply is invisible. It becomes a means of exchange, which is the dollar bill. But the same thing, supply is ideas. Supply is that invisible force which we manifest, and is manifested as us, through us, in any time we recognize our incorporeality. Again, let me go back to the first sentence with which I began this class. We really don't have a true healing until we have an experience that shakes our foundations. Normally, a lot of us, especially in the mystical path, I was going to say in the infinite way. Yes, in the infinite way with capital letters, have been great sinners. I mean, we've gone through the total catalog of sin, disease, death, and everything. And finally we realized it doesn't work. And once we get to it, then we finally learn humility and said, okay, God, I can't do it, but you can. And then God takes over. What happens after we have that first experience is that we think we are going to have a very easy road. And we do, for a couple of years. And then once the next experience comes, we always think that our initiation is just, they put a robe and a ring, and you just go through a very nice ritual. An initiation is a trial. And once we're in a trial, we go through depression, we go through many things. Sin, disease, lack, limitation. Or we just go through it within ourselves. We face it, we look at it, we recognize it for what it is, and then what we learn is to let go. I can't do it, but you can. And really mean, not my will, but thine be done, in me, through me, and as me. Really mean that. And I can't think that I don't think that intellectually we can do it. It is that transformation that comes from the heart that really turns everything around. And all of a sudden say, yes, Father, yes, now I know it, now I know it. Now I know the unreality of death, the unreality of fear. Joel has a tape where he talks about the fear of animals, snakes, and you mentioned it. And he said that it's important to look at that fear straight in the face, or the snake, or whatever, and look at it and see it for what it is. You see, we have feared snakes and we have killed them. There are very few left. We have feared lions and we've killed them. And all of a sudden we realize, oh my God, these animals are part of the whole ecosystem. They are part of us. We have feared ourselves, each other, and we have destroyed each other. Now all of a sudden we realize that you are me and I am you. How can I destroy myself? How can I be what I am not? How can I not accept myself as I am? And I am the fullness of God. And God fulfills itself as you and as me. How can I not recognize that? Then healing, more than healing the body or healing the mind or healing the pocketbook or healing our fears, is a transformation of consciousness. Is what the Zen Buddhists call, when they have the illumination, Satori. But what is Satori in Zen Buddhism? It's a change of view. You're looking at the same world from a different perspective, the spiritual perspective. And then, by recognizing that, when you have to, I was going to say leave the body, but you don't really leave the body. You sort of drop it. Or what we think is a body, which is a projection of the mind. Because the body will always have. When we drop that projection of the mind, you just can't go. When you drop the projection of the mind, you are free from fear. When you drop the projection of the mind, you can look at those people whom you have a tremendous problems with all the time, husbands, wife, fathers, mothers, children, enemies, and see them for what they are, yourself. Because what you're fighting with was an aspect of yourself. Normally, the problems we have with other people are aspects of us that we are dealing with, and we can deal with that aspects of us. So what do? We project it. once we stop fighting it, we become friends. Or we just drop each other for a while. It takes a long time sometimes to impersonalize the animosities. We just drop it. And then we see them as they are, which is us. Someone told me some years ago, I never forgot it. She told me when she studied, I think she read one of Joel's books, and she said, the thing I fear about this book is that God is like a big blob, no? That has